Tonight, when Harry met Meghan.
All of the signs are pointing to Meghan being the one. We understand that Harry has never been happier.
Is the prince leading a royal revolution?
We are moving forward, and the royal family is not this old, outdated establishment. It's moving into the modern world with us.
How will the House of Windsor cope with a very modern romance?
If they scandalise public opinion in any way, I think that they put the whole business of monarchy into jeopardy.
And what would life really be like for a Princess Meghan?
So Meghan, if she wants to be high profile with Harry, will probably find that very restricting.
Perfect.
Good evening and welcome to the Tonight programme. Prince Harry and American Meghan Markle are now one of the most talked about couples on the planet, with every move they make scrutinised for a sign they might be about to get engaged. And if the prince does get married, it might just be one of the biggest storylines in the history of the House of Windsor. Fiona Foster reports.
A moment that made history. An emotional queen looks on as for the first time her son and heir lays the wreath at the cenotaph for Remembrance Sunday. There's no denying we're on the cusp of a new era. And behind Charles, a trio of younger royals is waiting in the wings. This is the House of Windsor in 21st century Britain.
The royal family remains incredibly important to national life. I think the monarchy is a necessary, stable point in a changing and really uncertain and frightening world. And actually, I think the monarchy is more important than ever. It's solid, it's assured, and it's going to go on.
If you want to be legitimate royals, you have to be old school British, really. You have to be very stiff upper lip and very stiff generally, and very dutiful, and you have to look like you're not enjoying yourself ever. And if they don't want to be that, I think they might find their rebrand has actually accidentally torpedoed the product.
No! But there's one member of the royal firm who, it seems, has never been afraid to enjoy himself and break with tradition, including who he's fallen in love with. Meet Meghan Markle. At 36, she's an intelligent, talented and beautiful American actor who was previously married to producer Trevor Engelson. They divorced in 2013. She came to the public's attention with her gutsy performance as paralegal Rachel Zane in the hit US drama Suits.
The firm operates on a chain of command model. Harvey's your commanding officer.
But last year, she rocketed to a new level of fame when it was revealed she was the girlfriend of one of the most eligible bachelors on the planet, Prince Harry.
Will they, won't they? Excitement is mounting as rumours of a royal engagement are everywhere. But will this romance spell a new 21st century chapter for the royal family?
All of the signs are pointing to Meghan being the one. We understand that Harry has never been happier. You could see that very clearly when he was with her at the Invictus Games.
Harry appears to be a popular prince, and royal watchers say that's crucial as the monarchy begins a generational change.
The role of the monarchy is purely symbolic, and the only power they have is by the influence they have. So if people say, oh, the monarchy doesn't matter, you know, they might as well not be there.
For some people, royalty, with its perceived power and obvious privilege, is a relic that has no place in a modern state. But for now, the majority of people in Britain still seem to support it. None more so than Margaret Tyler, who you might call a superfan.
Welcome to Heritage House.
Good grief, Margaret. What
a collection.
I know, it's grown and grown out of all proportion now. It seems to have taken over my home and my life and everything, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
So why did you start it?
Well, I was always keen on the royal family as a child, and when the king died when I was 8, I remember that as though it was like my granddad dying.
Over 40 years, Margaret has amassed a collection of over 10,000 items. She's lost track of just how much money she's spent.
I think the whole thing is almost like a theatre production. They're the stars, they've got the costumes, we're the audience, and we just love it.
There are people who think that as the royal family opens up more, becomes more modern, it will kind of make itself redundant and that there won't be a royal family as we have now. What do you think?
I think that's absolute rubbish. You look at the number of people who turn out to see the Queen when there's a royal wedding, that sort of thing. How many people are in the Mall? You can't move for people. And people say that every so often, you know, oh, they're not relevant anymore. I think they're more relevant than ever, to be truthful. And I, for one, don't want to see them go anywhere.
The Windsors obviously have a special place in Margaret's heart. But the public's relationship with the royals hasn't always been an easy one. While the Queen is widely acknowledged as a great monarch, some wonder what's next. And with one young royal potentially taking the family in a different direction, how might that affect public opinion? It's perhaps not much of a surprise that Harry is the one who might be breaking the mould.
You know, Harry's very forward-going, he's very brave. William's more reticent, more careful, more cautious. Diana used to call him her little old man. And I think that of the two, that Harry is more like his mother. Harry's a free spirit, which of course is why everybody loves him. And free spirits don't really do what they don't want to do.
Even at a young age, Harry knew that his brother was the one who would be king. And this perhaps gave him more freedom to do things his own way.
As a 4-year-old, I remember on a journey to Highgrove, and Harry would be sort of seated up in the back seat with the nanny in the middle and William in the other seat, and Diana was driving on this occasion. There was this exchange across the nanny that was often hostile between two boys, and then suddenly Harry, out of nowhere, said in this sort of mumbled, childlike voice, "It's all right for William, he'll be a king, I won't, so it doesn't matter." Which nanny gives him a slap.
As Princess Diana's personal protection officer, Ken was around for most of Harry's early childhood. One day, he gave a bored 5-year-old Harry a police radio. Before too long, he was wondering where the young prince had got to.
I called him up and I said, "Where are you, Harry?" He said, "Just a moment." Next thing, I could hear this traffic noise. And he's actually standing in Ken High Street outside Tower Records. I don't think I've ever run as fast in my life. And I did, and there at the bottom of Kensington Palace Gardens, there's a small boy with my radio in his khaki uniform.
He'd wandered out of the palace on his own.
For Harry, an important step on what looks increasingly likely to be a career in the army.
In the years following Princess Diana's tragic death, he and his brother were shielded from the spotlight. But the rebellious streak Harry had shown as a young boy never disappeared.
Wearing Nazi uniforms to fancy dress parties, accusations that he'd smoked cannabis, and all these sorts of things.
Following training at Sandhurst, Harry did go on to have a career in the army. Aged 23, he went to Afghanistan, where he would serve 2 frontline combat tours. He's already had high-profile romances, his most serious with Zimbabwean Chelsea Davy, who he dated on and off for 7 years. But perhaps due to the intense scrutiny that comes with dating a royal, that relationship broke down. Now 33, Harry seems to have matured. He might have left the army, but the military still means a lot to him. And so do the people who served and sacrificed. He set up the Invictus Games, a sporting competition for wounded, injured or sick veterans.
Sport is proven to have a hugely positive effect on the rehabilitation of these guys. Bear in mind, these are military people. You know, they've been sort of cut down in their prime as such.
And it was at this year's event that he first stepped out officially with his new girlfriend, Meghan Markle. Rachel Meghan Markle was born in Los Angeles in 1981. Her African-American mother, Doria, is a yoga instructor and therapist. And her father, Thomas, an award-winning television lighting director.
Meghan typifies the American dream. If you look at her background, she sort of has it all. She's biracial, she's divorced, she's in her late 30s, so she's in fact older than Prince Harry, and she is very much a self-made woman. That's the immigrant story. People come to America to live out this kind of dream.
Unlike past royal partners, she already has a big public profile, with nearly 2 million followers on Instagram and 500,000 on Twitter. And last year, when news of her relationship broke, she was the most Googled person in the world. Her holidays, diet, the clothes she wears, all there for everyone to view. That might be typical for an actor, but what about a potential princess? Kate Middleton, now the Duchess of Cambridge, was one young woman who had to learn the ropes fast.
Catherine is very careful about what she says, and she is very careful, and people think she's dull because she doesn't say a great deal. But gosh, it's really paid off for her because she hasn't put a foot wrong. So Meghan, if she wants to be high profile with Harry, which of course she will be by dint of who she's married to, will probably find that very restricting.
Yes, it's funny. I never thought about walking before, but I suppose it's all about keeping your head up and just having some posture about it.
Yeah, exactly.
As well as a long, hard look at online profiles, royal protocol is also something that has to be learned.
And should I be doing any of that?
No, Fiona, you should.
Victoria Ball is a consultant for Debrett's, the world-famous etiquette experts. Just the person to come to for princess lessons.
So if I extend my hand as a member of the royal family to you, perfect. There is something magical about the royal family, and it has a sense of mystique that still surrounds it. And I think that those rituals, which we call etiquette, allow people to connect with the royal family and engage with the institution of monarchy. But of course, it can be a minefield, from dining to how to walk to how to get in and out of cars.
The question is, will Meghan and Harry want to play by the royal rules? For these students at King's College London, that doesn't really matter. Breaking the mould does.
What Meghan and Harry's relationship can then do is maybe attract a new type of support, particularly in America. You know, you're expanding the brand of the royal family a little bit.
The American comedy gets together with an English royal. It's a very kind of fairy tale happy ending.
I loved when their relationship first came out, that Kensington Palace came out, and they completely disparaged the media and said you're being sexist and you're being racist and we're not putting up with it. I thought that was fantastic for both the US and the UK to see that we are moving forward, and the royal family is not this old, outdated establishment. It's moving into the modern world with us.
I am proud to be a woman and a feminist.
Meghan is active in humanitarian work. She's an ambassador for World Vision Canada and a UN women's advocate, drawing comparisons with Harry's trailblazing mum, Diana.
Of how far we've come.
We don't just want princesses who look good, we want them to say something, we want them to make an impact. Diana was hugely successful because she did make a difference in HIV and AIDS awareness. She did make a difference when it came to landmines and those other key causes.
I think that the royal family should, frankly, be thrilled that somebody of her background is prepared to come into the firm, which has so far been, until Princess Diana, rather stale, pale and old-fashioned. And so she's a blast of wonderful Hollywood, West Coast, America, you know, bring it on.
Diana is still remembered as the people's princess, someone who was more open and more willing to share her feelings. Her sons seem to have followed that path, but there are potential pitfalls.
The royal family is in this kind of precipice between wanting to be relatable, like you and I, and wanting to maintain their privilege. Princess Diana kind of embodied this gear shift. You know, she wanted to be a royal, but she didn't really want to act in that kind of remote, dutiful, authoritarian way. She wanted to be quite glitzy and razzle-dazzle, but that is a very difficult thing to pull off. If you want to be normal and dress in Zara clothes and laugh and be fun and seem like one of the rest of us, then people will ask, well, on what basis are you superior then? On what basis are you a figurehead?
Of course, it's not the first time that an American divorcee has been linked with the highest levels of our royal establishment.
If Harry and Meghan do tie the knot, she'll be the first American to marry into the royal family since that other famous divorcee from across the Atlantic who once lived in this apartment block, Wallis Simpson. Her romance with Edward VIII led to his abdication and a scandal that rocked the royal family to its core.
The abdication was the most traumatic event that occurred in royal history throughout the entire 20th century. It was a great shadow which darkened royal life because it had shaken the throne.
You can see she's wearing that there.
Historian Piers Brendan has written about how Wallis, an American socialite who had already been married twice, bewitched the king, Harry's great-great-uncle.
She mesmerised him. And this was probably because she was American. She was very fashionable, very chic, very steely, and she was unimpressed by royalty. She didn't sort of defer in quite the same way that the English people were liable to defer to royalty.
The scandal even affected Harry's parents, Charles and Diana, decades later.
The idea that he should divorce Princess Diana when they proved completely incompatible was a horror as far as the royal family is concerned. And you can see it even later than that, when the Queen, who is the supreme governor of the Church of England, for which divorce is anathema, could not turn up to the marriage ceremony between Prince Charles and Camilla.
But the painful memories have faded, says Piers.
We live in changed circumstances. We are a much more multicultural and tolerant society. I think the climate of opinion probably has changed to that extent. And if Prince Harry marries a divorced woman, it doesn't carry the same charge.
So while marrying a divorcee would once have been impossible, it's probably not so radical today. What is tough, though, is drawing the lines between giving the public the access they want and maintaining privacy. And Harry, who believes the paparazzi contributed to his mother's death, feels that more than most. When news of his relationship emerged and interest in Meghan's life soared, the prince had a statement issued condemning what he called a wave of abuse and harassment targeting his girlfriend in the press and on social media.
What happens if you break a story like that is that everyone else plays catch-up and all of the rest of the media are desperate to have a piece of this great story, and therefore you then get family members and friends being approached and the backstory of Meghan starts to be written.
For Meghan and Harry, intrusion into their privacy may be something they have to contend with every day. And Gavin Miller QC, one of the UK's leading experts on privacy law, says the fact that Meghan is American may make it particularly difficult for the couple.
They are box office and they're very, very photogenic. It's a dangerous cocktail. There is the potential for conflicts, big conflicts, to arise between them, the palace, and the media in terms of their privacy. There is potential through the nature of their characters, through the profiles that they've brought into the relationship at the outset, and through the incessant demand of the media, both online and in print and in broadcast, for stories about famous people like that.
UK privacy law means the royal family have traditionally been shielded from much bad press. But the American media have much more of a free rein.
What are the main differences then between UK and US privacy laws?
There are things, particularly images and photographs, that would be quite okay for the Americans to publish or show on television, which wouldn't happen here.
In 2012, Harry found out the hard way that what happens in Vegas doesn't necessarily stay there.
Well, royal officials have confirmed it. Yes, it was Prince Harry naked in albeit slightly blurred pictures which have appeared on internet sites and newspapers around the world.
While the photos were banned from being shown in the UK, they still led to him making an awkward apology.
You know, at the end of the day, I probably let myself down, let my family down, and let other people down. It was probably a classic example of me probably being too much army and not enough Prince.
In fact, the incident didn't really do him that much harm, and as the years have gone by, his popularity has grown. His relationship with Meghan appears to have cemented that further. We brought together 8 members of the public with mixed views on the monarchy. Do they think Harry and Meghan are right to carry us into the future? And what about those ripped jeans Meghan wore for the Invictus Games?
For that occasion, it was perfect. You know, they were relaxed. If you have a more serious environment, you know, you dress appropriately.
We're not in the 18th century anymore, and just because they're part of the royal family doesn't mean that they can't wear the clothes they're comfortable with.
Most believe Meghan and Harry represent a positive change.
The whole world is changing very fast. Everything is becoming modern. Only us as people and the monarchy can grow with it.
The fact that he is going for someone that is biracial, it's kind of a leap forward, and it's a new era in the royal family.
A welcomed change then, but with a note of caution that some of the tradition and the mystique should be maintained.
I think it's very important for them to keep that step back. You know, all about kind of a little bit of openness and transparency, but what makes them special, what makes them different is all that weight of history behind them. And I think that needs to be preserved.
All around the world, we're envied because of our royal family. We have got to be careful that they're not celebrities. They are somebody to be admired and respected.
It's a terribly difficult balance to strike. And the present Queen, Queen Elizabeth II, I think has erred, if she has erred, on the side of being dignified rather than opening up. I think on the whole it's probably worked for her. I think the lessons that Harry and Meghan should learn from history are that they must avoid an open scandal. If they scandalise public opinion in any way, I think that in the way that Edward VIII and Mrs. Simpson did, they put the whole business of monarchy into jeopardy.
There's no doubt that Harry and Meghan, with their celebrity status, do represent a departure from tradition. That could be just the thing to help energise and re-engage our royal family. And for one royal fan, that means an exciting future and the need for a bit more space.
I have a horrible feeling though, Margaret, there may not be any room for any possible Harry and Meghan memorabilia.
Yes, people do say that. You know, they say to me, "You're going to stop now?" And I say, "No, I can't stop now because things are evolving all the time. So now how can I stop?" I mean, next year there's going to be a royal baby. Next year there might be a royal wedding. It's not stopping, is it? It's keeping going.
Harry has never been afraid to push the boundaries. And in Meghan, he's found a strong, independent woman who may well be the perfect partner for his royal revolution.
If you'd like any more information about our programme tonight, just head to our website at itv.com/tonight. Until next time, good evening and thanks for watching.
Things are hotting up tonight as we welcome 2 new campmates. But how will Ian and Kezia take to life in the jungle? I'm a Celebrity Get Me Out of Here is at 9. And we're heading back to Emmerdale next.